Hello, my name is Reverend David Clifford. I am the senior minister of First Christian Church in Henderson, Kentucky. In our lectionary text for yesterday's worship service, we focused on the familiar passage from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 14, verses 22 through 33. In these scriptures, Jesus walks on the water to get to the disciples in the midst of a storm. At Peter's request, Jesus invites Peter out on the water with him. Peter walks out towards Jesus, but as his fear of the storm takes over, he begins to sink. Jesus immediately reaches out his hand to save Peter, and they return to the boat. For this episode of the Monday Morning Preacher, we are downtown Henderson at the mighty Ohio River to talk a little bit about Henderson's history and God's saving grace. Just one of the beauties of Henderson, Kentucky is that we sit atop the banks of this majestic river. Having Jesus walking on water in our text yesterday seemed the perfect opportunity for us to show off the beauty of Henderson's river views. I'm not sure if you are aware of the story or not, but there is a wonderful story in Henderson's history with the Ohio River. During the flood of 1917, over 20 inches of rain fell in Henderson during an 18-day period. Nearly every town along the banks of the Ohio River flooded drastically and experienced severe devastation. However, Henderson was spared drastic flood damage because the city sits high on a bluff. Lee Harris, publisher of the local newspaper, wrote, "Henderson is on the Ohio, but never in it." That popular saying is still used to this day to describe Henderson, Kentucky. This saying seems to fit perfectly with the teaching from our lectionary text for yesterday. As I pointed out in my sermon, Jesus calls us as disciples out of the boat, even in the midst of the storms of our lives. But Jesus' hand will always be there for us if we start to sink. The storms of our lives may overwhelm us at times. They may cause us to doubt our faith in Jesus or in His calling for our lives. But His steady hand will always be right there behind us to lift us up when we start to sink. Our callings from Christ are not unlike Henderson's relationship to this mighty river behind me. We may be called to sit on the midst of the various storms of our life, but we will never drown in them. Jesus' hand is there for you. The salvation we experience through the life, the ministry, the death, and the resurrection of Christ is like the bluff that Henderson sits upon. We are on the water, but Christ keeps us from being in it. Please know that whatever you may be going through in your life right now, that Jesus is right there with you. His hand reaches out to you immediately. I want to thank you for watching this episode of the Monday Morning Preacher. As always, if you liked this episode, please give us a thumbs up. And be sure to subscribe to our channel to receive all the latest episodes as we release them of the Monday Morning Preacher. God bless.